This is otherwise state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Wrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show.
When the whistle go.
Brent Metcalf, Iowa Hawkeye, former Iowa Hawkeye Wrestling Club, has been hired as the National Freestyle Development Coach by USA Wrestling. He's going to be working still in Iowa City, but come May, he's headed out to Colorado. I think it's for hunting. People say it's for wrestling, but he is joining us now. Brent Metcalf, welcome to the show.
Don't tell my new boss that.
I swear, I just talked to you 2 weeks ago about your hunting gig on the side, and you said that you like to be in the mountains. Uh-huh. You didn't even mention that this is going down. So, but obviously, this is a step into the next direction if you're wanting to be a coach full time. So, first off, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a good opportunity. I'm really excited about it.
Has this been something that has been in the works for a little while, or did it just recently happen? Because we all thought that you were going to be staying around Iowa City for a while, helping out the high school team, and did this just kind of just fall in your lap?
Yeah. Everything did just kind of fall the way it fell. I don't think I had any plans for I definitely didn't have any plans for the high school thing to go down the way it did, and then the USA Wrestling job, the way that happened is if you would have asked me this, let's say 6 months ago. But that's okay. I'm a man of faith, and I'm a man that believes things happen for the way they got to. So, just different opportunities fell in place, and specifically the USA Wrestling job was one where wasn't really anything on my radar until Bill called me about it. And it did kind of go down pretty fast. I think probably the nature of him trying to get not established there, but basically he's a one-man team there out in Colorado Springs right now. So it helps him to be able to have people, whether assistants or different role coaches, to help him get going with USA Wrestling there. So it did all just kind of fall fast. I knew, kind of long story short, I knew that the high school gig was something that was I agreed to do, one, because I wanted to, but also because I was going to be here in Iowa City until at least May with my wife being in school. So I had some opportunities maybe to go coach at some different colleges, and I didn't really entertain those just because I wasn't going to leave. My wife's put a ton of work in to be able to. She's working on her PhD to be able to get where we are, and I was like, we're not going to stop. She's not going to stop doing that. I'm not going to leave my family for 5 or 6 months. So that was a great opportunity for me to be able to stay in the sport of wrestling and coach at some level while she was doing that. And then I kind of had my radar open for opportunities that will arise after that. And this just happened to be one where, with communications with Bill, I'd be able to operate, let's say, part-time, if that's the right word, between now and May. And then May is just a random term. Let's just call it the spring. And then be able to move out there and then take over full-time from there on out. So, it was just a good situation. It was something I was really excited about. It was, like I said, something I hadn't really thought about putting myself in there until he called me. And the minute he called really was one of the first times I was really excited about. I was like, man, this is something I could really enjoy. I really loved what I've been doing for the past, let's call it 6-7 years, traveling internationally, competing internationally. And I was like, man, I think that's something I would continue to like to stay in. Freestyle is definitely part of the sport of wrestling that I have a ton of passion for. Definitely one of my favorite styles to compete in. So yeah, I think just when it was approached to me, it just instantly seemed like it would be right.
Hey, it seems like you've been in Iowa City since I was in college, and that's been since like '08. And so I think a lot of people just assume that you would be in Iowa City. Were a face of Iowa Hawkeye wrestling. Was it something to where you didn't see an opportunity on staff that you wanted to branch out and look elsewhere, or there just wasn't an opportunity for you to stick in Iowa City and coach there? Is there a way, what happened, I guess?
To make it simple for you, cards fell how they fell, and I had to go with the opportunities that were there for me.
Okay.
So all good.
Yeah. So there's no. I think that's. Everyone's obviously really happy for you, and they're going to be bummed that you're not going to be in Iowa City training. So there's always another way to look at it is, hey, you're going to be out in Colorado Springs, training and seeing recruits. But is this something that you see yourself doing for a while? Is this something that leads you up to maybe coming back to Iowa City or going to a college down the road? How are you kind of looking as an outlook for like a 5-year plan?
I would say that at this moment, which maybe professionals would say that you shouldn't have a 5-year, or you should have a 5-year plan. But for me, I'm looking at just the next step. And I don't know if I necessarily jump into this thinking, oh, this is just something for me to do until I can get what I really want. I don't think I'd be doing a whole lot of justice or service to that job if it was just a stepping stone for me to get somewhere. So for me, I'm jumping in full force to really go and take that job and do the very, very best that I can with it, and then see what happens. Maybe it is something that is just completely me. I love it. I'm doing a good job at it. That's the biggest, most important part, is that you're doing a darn good job, and if that's the case, then maybe you continue to do that and just see where things kind of play from there. But definitely my mindset is not going into this thinking, well, this is a good starter job for me to do this to get somewhere else. I don't think that would be a very fair way for me to go into USA Wrestling's organization.
Yeah, no, it brings up another question. Coaching is a full-time job at this. What Bill's undertaking it's a year-round job. I think a lot of people don't really know how many weekends that USA Wrestling coaches have to be away from their families. And I've got to imagine this was a conversation that you had to have with your wife, 2 kids, 1 on the way. And, how do those conversations go? They've obviously been supporting you since, your grind of going overseas and in Iowa City and on the senior level.
Yeah. I think you could say, not take anything away from Bill Zanuck and the job, but I think you could say that really about any high-level position, at least from my perspective. So if I were to go and coach at the University of Iowa, you're still a 12-month-year job, right? So I don't know if I look at it like, oh, I've got myself in so much more work. I think that there's an expectation in a way to operate that you're going to get the most out of your program, whatever it may be, and that the nature of that is that it is an 11 to 12 month time commitment. Now the difference is that instead of traveling to Wisconsin to duel, you're traveling to Russia, so your trips are definitely longer. Definitely, like I said, I think it's part of the nature of the job that the sport of wrestling, you want to be a coach in the sport of wrestling. You want to be successful in the sport of wrestling. There's a huge time commitment. You're really just taking on another team, so you're taking on a bunch of more children, right? But it's something that has deeply affected me in my life, has changed and rerouted the person that I am. And I think that I've gotten a lot from that, and I think that I will get a lot out of being able to do that and pass that to other kids.
Is there time to train for yourself? Is this something that you're going to be focused training your athletes, or are you going to have some room for yourself?
Where I'm at as far as competition goes, I'm not calling myself out because I'm pretty darn healthy, and I'm just kind of in a situation where 16 made sense to be done. And then obviously not having or getting what you want, not accomplishing the things that you want, puts you in a position where you feel like I got to keep going. And to me, I don't feel like I'm doing myself any justice if I just go do it just because I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm just going to keep doing it anyways. Well, I don't dabble. I don't throw my hat in. I don't just do it just because I want to do it. I do it because I internally want to be the world or Olympic champion more than anything else in the world. And the position I find myself in is that, hey, maybe I am ready to move on. So I guess my answer to that is for sure I'm going to step away for a year or two or maybe forever. I don't really have the answer. But I think being there at the training center, certainly I keep myself in a role or an opportunity or a position where if I decided to start training and wanted to make it more about me, I guess that you certainly could do that.
You've always been somebody that after college match, senior level match, you didn't get the goal that you wanted to get. And you've always said that you're not happy. Even if you did win, you weren't ever happy. And you've always looked at it as a positive that you've got to build to the next match. And what happened in Iowa City, those 4 years of basically your whole life training for that, came down to screeching halt. What was that 24 hours like for you? Was it something you had to be around your family? Were you by yourself?
It was a little bit of both. I think that there was initially just alone time, and then also family time. A lot of things go into that. I think I think 12 was probably harder because you're that much closer, right? So not that I wasn't close and not that I wasn't, close to being the guy, right? That wasn't good enough to be the guy. But when you lose in the finals, you're there, best 2 out of 3, you really feel like you're the guy. That maybe situation, as far as emotionally, was tougher than when you lose first round. But then also add to it that it was kind of the second time through. And it still sucks, but it was like, okay, we've been through this before. Maybe you have better coping mechanisms or something of that nature. And then finally, like I said, I am a man of faith, and it's guided me a long ways. I think that you go back to 2009 when that was probably one of the first biggest stunners I had. And it would have been very easy for me to go a wrong way. And I don't mean lifestyle-wise. I just mean in my wrestling, And in order for me to move forward in a positive light or a positive direction, I just had to have faith that sometimes the plan is not your plan. So,
what do you think is the number one thing that you'd like to do when talking to some of these younger athletes at this cadet level, junior level, that you really could take away from your experiences domestically, internationally, highs and lows? Is there like one thing that you thought of when you accepted the job that, hey, I need to tell these guys this about the style of freestyle?
That's a pretty good question. No, I don't know if there's one thing. I think that just off the cuff, my mission, or kind of one thing that really seems really important to me, is just that they go and have the experience, and that it's a completely different world traveling overseas and competing with those guys. They're a different style. They're like nothing you will wrestle over here in the United States, in a lot of different ways. So many different dynamics to that sentence, that they are just a lot different. And that environment is different. It's not necessarily a tougher environment. It's just a different environment. So for me, I think it's very important that those guys have that experience, because I think I said in another interview, I look at myself, and 2010 is basically the first time I go overseas. Imagine, not that this would have guaranteed success, but I think my first cadet title was way back in let's say it was in the early 2000s, right? So now I've got 16 years of experience traveling internationally and competing compared to 6 or 7. Does that make a difference? I think it does. I think it in 010 you're more prepared. You're walking in maybe just like on the junior level in Fargo, for instance. You've wrestled some of these guys. You've beaten them, so it gives you a sense of confidence. Or maybe you haven't beaten them, but it's been close. Compared to you walking in and you don't know anybody. And you believe in yourself and what you can do, but then you go out and maybe you don't have what you wanted, which I didn't. And then, you're still kind of left it, I don't know if with nothing's the word. But, I think just getting them the experience, going in, putting yourself in tough circumstances, tough competition, will really mold you and teach you where you're at, what you're about, and how you need to get better. Because, like I said, it's really hard to replicate the Euregan tournament. We can't replicate that here in the United States. With the different styles of Russians that you'll have and the different calibers and putting them back to back to back to back. It's even more different than the United States, in folk style with the breaks. As hard as I train and as hard as how great a shape you think you are, it gets pretty tough as you get to that quarter semifinal match and you walk off and you got 15 minutes. It's just different. So, I think that I don't know if I have a message or a lesson that I learned, because I looking back, I don't know if there's a big lightning bolt lesson, but I think the experience is super valuable. And in that cadet and junior age level, it's already proven as far as the success that we've had at that level and then how that's carrying forward. And we just want to continue to add to that and do it on another level where instead of one Cal Snyder, you've got 3 of them, 6 of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to talk to Slay, Zadok, maybe directly about just a quick vision of this is what we'd like to do in the immediate future, or is this something that you're kind of not really looking to put on your plate until May? I'm
actually going to be going out there next weekend, I think, and I think I'll spend 3 days out there, and we'll start laying some groundwork as far as plans, as far as maybe some targets, some guys that we're looking at to bring into that program, and kind of lay a work and start the work in progress so that, and my vision is so that in May when I arrive, it's like hit the ground running. It's not that you're just now, putting pencil to paper and trying to organize and make a plan, that the plan is in place. You've already maybe got some guys who are committed to coming out, and, building from there.
Do you think a plan for the future is to try to recruit more kids to not go the college route and go directly into the OTC? Is that maybe a focus that some people have talked about that?
See, I think I like where Bill's going with this, which is kind of tweaked what you're saying there. So, and this is what I really like about it. I didn't love that they were trying to out-recruit guys from colleges. It's tough. You're fighting an uphill battle. The biggest thing we have in the United States is the NCAA championships. These guys want to be a part of that. That's fine. Okay? So I think the angle is going to be more, let's get these guys as junior seniors or gray shirt. Let's say they have that year in between. Let's get them then, give them that year of experience, their senior year, where they can travel, they can compete with the senior level guys at a very high level there at the training center. And now you're giving a college a better product. Or now the kid can go and continue, and now he's up to our senior level. He's got all that experience in that developmental range. So I think it's just a slightly different approach as far as just let's get these guys their junior, senior year, and like I said, maybe gray shirt. Some guys want to do that. And let's get them experience in developmental then so that you're not fighting these coaches. Because it is. I mean, I remember there was a number of guys where it's like just being around the room. I didn't do any recruiting, but I remember just it felt like it was like, God, why are they trying to get him to go out there. We're trying to recruit him here. So I don't know. I think that the plan that has been spoken to me, at least, or the vision, I'm on board with it. I like it. I think it's good.
I think that would be a difficult position to be in, especially if you have to start recruiting against maybe your Iowa. I get to try to get those guys to come to Colorado Springs and wrestle for you right away. I like that idea of trying to get him mid college career. There hasn't been really somebody that's been able to do that. Kyle Snyder, Jaden Cox, obviously they're proven that method works, maybe in folk style, freestyle, and I want to leave with this as somebody that has had success on the college level, the senior level, and all these RTCs, and we've got obviously the Olympic Training Center. Are we hurting ourselves by having like you and Dennis and Ramos, McDonough, all these guys at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club really kind of training full time amongst themselves instead of with the higher level athletes, like with going to Penn State or Arizona, Sunkist, and training really kind of more often. I guess that money probably comes into play there to try to get everybody in the one spot. But can we do more of that than it just being Dan Dennis training with Brent Metcalf? I mean, for you need more partners. I would think when you were in the Hawkeye Wrestling Room of people that were going to push you.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I think that is something that I don't know if is in the process of being worked out or drawn up plans. I don't know if that's the right word or way to say that, but for sure, there's just a semi-struggle there, right? Because like you said, it's about money. One location can only handle so many guys. It behooves these universities to have guys at those universities as far as recruiting, and guys who can their guys can now train with really high-level guys. But I think there's something there for sure. I mean, I wouldn't ever deny that if you put me around the very best guys at 65 kilos and I trained with those guys every day, that you're going to either rise to the top or fall down, that's certainly going to help maybe United States as a whole. I just think that our system, again, our focus how the United States is wired, that it's pretty darn close. I think that they've tried to fight that battle a little bit, going back maybe 2 cycles ago or more, where it was like, hey, we need to have everyone centrally located. And it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to put the type of stipends that guys need to live on, but are also getting at these different RTCs. You won't be able to do that in one location. We're not governmentally funded, which is different than a lot of those programs, internationally, I'm saying. So, yeah, I don't know if there is an answer. I think that there's a constant trying to work it out. And then how many training camps can you have a year? I mean, I know when I was an athlete, I can appreciate that it was like, man, I really don't want to travel here. I just want to get on a system and train at my own hometown here for 3 weeks straight. I don't want to have to jump every other week to some different place. So I don't know. It's a great question. And I think that I don't know if that hinges upon whether the United States has success or not, but I think that I don't know if you're going to find a way to fix isn't the word, but to answer that question. But it's certainly something where we could help ourselves by more time together. But I don't know a realistic way to do that. So maybe that's part of my new job. Bill's going to tell me figure it out.
There you go.
Draw it up, man.
Well, I don't want to say this is the last time you're going to be talking to Iowa fans, but is there anything you'd like to, I guess, say to the fans about that have followed you through this journey and that are going to be following you out to Colorado Springs?
Yeah, it's kind of sad to hear you say that. I feel like I'm still a Hawkeye at heart, but it's. Thank you for all your loyal support, especially through college years. Obviously, there's rabid support, but to me, the biggest and eye-opening thing is once you graduated, and then just to see the support that you continue to have once you graduate and get out of school. And in order for me to survive and to feed my family and take care of my wife and kids, it's literally just fans who support what you do, and just financially, just as far as our fundraisers things go, are just, they want to see you go and not even have success, just go pursue your dreams. And to me, that's a really big deal. It's a really big deal that they care about me and my family, but my dreams as much as I did. So forever grateful. Again, not a whole lot more you can say than just thank you. Certainly forever will be the very best best wrestling fans and supporters in the entire country. So,
well, awesome. You're going to work with a former Hawkeye, so that's not change.
Yeah.
That's not changing. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you, Brent. But I'm sure lots of people will be sad to see you leave Iowa City. But you got to move on to the best thing for you, your family, that is continuing to grow. So congrats on that, and congrats on the job. And we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, thank you.